Good morning. Hello. Happy Friday. It is, let's see. I don't actually have much news today. Usually I have something, but no, it's Friday. Friday's good enough. Uh, Xanax, hello. How are you doing today? You're doing perfect? Well, that sounds really good. All right. We left off yesterday talking about or figuring out seeds. Um, so we have these three seed files because we can't do multiple in one statement because I don't want to like make it too crazy with I don't want to make it too crazy with any of them. Um, Now, is there a way? Is there a way in Rust to grab all the files in a directory really easily? I know like I can do that by like, running the command and getting a list of the files and then opening them one by one. But like I'm wondering, is there something like a macro that will open up all the files in a directory? Or is there a crate that will do it for us? Because if there is, then we could just open these up one by one. We can set the like use a date or something else in the names to make sure it happens in the right order, and then we'll just say, hey, anything inside of seeds will run every time we run the seeds. That sounds like it might be the best. Okay, so what we've got here. So, oh, right. So I left off trying to create a transaction and pass the transaction in, and we almost got this working. But we ended up having errors. And I don't remember exactly what the problem was. And Rest Analyzer is not actually telling me. That feels strange. Oh, error communicating with the database. Of course it is. It's error communicating with the database because the database is not up. That would do it. So there we go. Now we get the error. Okay, so the trait bound reference to PG executor is not satisfied. Um, right. So you the problem seems to be that you need to be. Oh, can I make you like a mutable reference here? And then we dereference you there. And then I'm not trying to pass in mutable references here. I guess I just pass in a single mutable reference, but not the dereferenced. Uh, okay, so you claim to work. sort of. Nope, you're back to not working. Cannot move out of executor. Okay, so I think we end up having the same problem over and over again, which is that I don't want to move out of this, but when I'm passing into C database, I'm doing the executor. It is a move. And I don't think I can't clone the transaction. So that's the entire problem. Okay, so basically, I think I do have to put the transaction inside of here, which means you're just gonna pass in the pool. Um, but then we have to figure out if we're having problems here, and then do the rollback or commit. And this is where grabbing multiple files would be helpful. But again, it's the same problem because query file, I need to pass it in. This is like a direct thing. I can't just tell it where it is, which is like, so nice until it's not. So no matter what I do, I don't think it works. So basically, we just have to do all of this stuff in here. So we'll have to do our flag again. Then we have to catch these errors. I only care if they are errors though. So if and that's when we do this eprint line. Did I do space? Okay, so eprint line, error. So this could be seeding games. Pass in the error, and then is success equals to false. And then you become a mutable reference with a dereference to the transaction. Yeah, that's the pattern that we have to do for this, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Okay, and then final one. Okay, so then we do our transaction and we commit that. That. Else we roll you back. And we're good to go there. Oh, and I forgot to change you. Okay, so you're good there. And then you all change because I just call run and then pass it in a pool. And so there's almost no point in having a run. So you just become run here. We don't need that lifetime anymore. We don't need to have you. Everything, I think everything works now. So if I run this, which one do I want to be? We'll use this as the right one. I'll use as the Docker. So Docker will exec in. Okay, so table games, we have those. Table platforms, we have that. Table game platform, and good. This is perfect. This is the exact scenario too, which is I've done this multiple times. I've reset and deleted everything in here, and because of that, the game IDs are like continuing to go up, but it just works because the subquery. All right, so we're happy now. Now, of course, if I try to run this again, it will fail because there's a unique on it. So let's get rid of you. Okay. Right, and you're never read because I'm not debugging you at the end. In fact, I'm not even using you in any way, so I think I can get rid of you. And no warnings, no nothing. Okay. So if we go to main, we start with a standard. We start with a standard main file here. This will be what we going. This is what we're starting with. I inserted games and let's see. So let's begin by creating a new Rust program. Okay, so there's that. Now I want to get rid of the run because that doesn't exist yet. And this, therefore it doesn't exist there. But the general idea is the same now. Okay, so I have you. What's next? Next would be I want to probably create the actual SQL files themselves. Okay, so let's create the seed files themselves. Okay, so we'll need one file per table, or per insert command. Um, we can create a a seeds directory in the root of the um, project, and touch the files, like and create the files. Seeds that will be creating. Hey, Zilby, welcome. Okay, so let's do, I'm not really sure which one this would be. I don't know if I would call it like ZSH or something. But here we'll do an LT and we'll show this is where we put seeds. So I guess what I could do is I'll just copy all of this and then we'll pare it down. So we will just go to that. I think that works. It's not really ZSH. I don't know what this. Maybe I just won't give it a type because I don't know what this would be. I can also. Oh, I can get rid of you too, and it's just the directory tree. Okay, so you have those. What's next? Then let's open up and do the seeds. Okay, so based on the data, we want to insert. We can fill out the SQL files. Are we in fours? Yeah, we're on fours, so I can do fives next. Okay, so 5. And then this will be, we'll do seed games. one seed game platforms. There we go. Okay. So the seed, it's up here. Let's describe this one. The seed game platforms file will be the most complicated. Let's see. So during development, we may end up resetting the database several times and then rerunning the seeds. Since the ID is a sequential counter, we may not know exactly what each game or platform is. For example, if we've run the seeds, and then deleted everything without dropping the database or resetting the counter, the games would get the IDs 4, 5, and 6. Instead of 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's actually not, we don't need to do this. Handle this, we can use a subquery to get the ID of the platform and the game when inserting into the game platform join table. Okay. So explaining that. All right. That's everything. And now we've got it. Okay. So next up, the actual lib. Okay, so it's time. Let's go back to the Rust code and create a live.rs file where we'll run the queries. All the queries at the same time. We use a transaction pattern. We'll use a transaction to run them all. So that way, if there is a problem, we'll get a rollback for all of them, instead of risking partially seeding the database. Now we've done this before. Okay, so as we have SQL files, we can use the, this is going to be the query file macro to run them. Okay, we drop you in. This shouldn't be like by this time. This shouldn't be like too hard to understand because we've already done this pattern. Like you should have gone through like a lesson for this. So it's really just doing that, and then there we go. We've got it. Finally, hook. I guess I could just don't forget to call the run function from the main file. Okay. Stacking, hello. How are you doing today? Seeding the database should really be part of the library. It's kind of annoying how every major REST library is missing the basic stuff that's been standard for a long time. I know, right? What is more infuriating for me is the fact that they're basically saying, "Oh, shouldn't that be part of just the migrations?" And then they just stop trying. Like it's almost like just misunderstanding how these work. Like sometimes you do want to run the seeds separately, and you want different seeds for like production and uh and dev, or you want something else, and you kind of want to control them a little bit differently than migrations. Yeah, so yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. uh to Pato, hello. How are you doing today? Do we have a planned date for when the courses will be available? Not really. I'm trying to do sort of like dateless where you can just like sort of see me coming. My first one is going to be the sqlx, and I'm going to do a sort of like a live course, and then we're going to continue on with Axum and sort of like figure out, we're going to go from there essentially. So I feel like I'm pretty close to sqlx. I think there might be like a few more lessons that we want to write in. Like I know I want like sort of join type things to go in here. Um, I don't know if there's like how much more beyond like sort of handling joins. Um, but then besides that, I think I'll be ready to start moving forward with sqlx as a course, like a mini course. So that's my best answer I've got right now, unfortunately. So sorry about that. Okay. Conclusion. You're doing great, thanks. Hope you're doing good too. Awesome. Sounds good. We'll enjoy taking sqlx and Axum in the future. Awesome. Well, that's great. I'm really happy, and that like I'm getting a lot of good feedback on like, okay, this is good. This is what you all are wanting. So I'm happy about that. That makes me feel good that like I'm on the right path. And so like then it's really gonna be making it actually match expectations. Although you're actually seeing me create it, so I'm assuming that expectations are already being set in like, hey, these are your articles. You can see that. The live one is going to be interesting because I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we're going to figure that out as we go along, and then we'll like pricing. Got to figure that out too. So yeah, I'll definitely be updating here, and then when I actually know dates and other stuff, that will be going everywhere, like Twitter, X Twitter, um, Discord. And I'll create a little YouTube video for it too. All right. So unfortunately, because sqlx doesn't have a dedicated system for handling seeds, we have no choice but to put them in migrations or create our own program to handle them. I'm not using first pronoun very often in here, but I think this is one of the few times I'll do it. It's like my suggestion is to create your own system to maintain control over when seeds run and be able to change them without having to make big changes to migrations. Because like that's one of the big things that like is if you put the migrations in, sorry, if you put the seeds into migrations and then later on you want different seeds, you're going to like have to then later on do like, okay, well actually I wanted to delete those rows. And it's like, okay, that's weird. We shouldn't have to do that. Or I should be able to say, okay, actually I want what if I could do like a naming system? So I don't know, maybe we could create a library for just like creating seeds with sqlx. That could be interesting. But okay, so you're there. Let's go ahead and review this. This is a long one. sqlx migrations and seeds. We can use sqlx to set up and manage our database tables as well as use it for queries. I guess like wait, that sounds weird. We can use sqlx to set up and manage our database tables. To create the table structure of our databases. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to describe what a migration is, describe what a seed is, create tables with a migration, seed the database. Content. Okay, we have our scenario. Let's create a 3-table database which will store our games and where we own them. We'll have the following tables. So then games. So we have the types here. So game ID name, and so we actually use this when creating, so we know that these are working. Then we have platforms, and then we have game platform. This will allow us to have a simple example to work with that also utilizes a join table with a composite primary key. This kind of key allows us to enforce that we don't repeat the same game for the same platform multiple times. Install sqlx CLI. In order to create and run migrations, so this is definitely not true. So migrations, we'll need the sqlx CLI. We can install it with the command cargo install sqlx CLI. Migrations. What are migrations? Migrations are a way for us to programmatically configure the database that we're using. Because it's in code, we can ensure that whatever we set up for testing, local development, will also be the same for production. When we run the command to update the database, it will run the migration scripts, which run SQL code on the database. If we want to make a change to the database, it's recommended to create a new migration instead of just updating the existing migrations. This is because the database stores which migrations have been run and will skip them unless we're setting up a new database. Migrations are supposed to undo what they did in revert, and it's generally a bad idea to revert it in production because reverting will undo everything the migrations did, including creating the tables. This means data would be lost. If we want to update a migration, be sure to run revert before doing so, and make sure that running revert is safe. Otherwise, just create a new migration. Creating a migration. To create a migration, run the command sqlx. So I've been doing the pattern of like going in here. Let's continue that. So let's do. This is that. Okay, sqlx migrate, add, then a migration name. If this is the first migration whoa. Oh. Wait, why is that causing issues here? What did I do wrong? Our color is all weird. Do I need to restart the LSP? Wait, is there even an LSP for this? I don't know if I have an LSP for that. But suddenly all of my my code is weird. So I have hmm hmm. And then this is fine up until here. Ooh, weird. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna save and quit and reopen. Let's see if we still have the same color issue. Oh, we do. Okay, so what's going on with this? So this happens right here. So I have backtick. I'm doing this with ZSH. I could change this to shell. It doesn't do anything though. sqlx migrate add, and then migration name, and then one backtick, and then the other two are these other weird colors. What's going on with this? Why are you so weird with this? I don't like it. Oh, it was because I had a space afterwards? Oh, weird. Okay. I don't think that would have caused an actual problem with a real markdown interpreter, but this apparently it caused whatever is running with this mark to freak out. Oh, Zilby's like facing left. We can get him to face the camera, kind of. All right. If this is the first migration we've created, it will also create a directory named migrations, and then a file that looks something like, 202.31.00.32.133.53 create games SQL. The number is the date and time that the migration was created. Having this at the beginning of the file is important since when sqlx runs migrations, it will sort the files by name and run them in order. There's been like I find there's a lot of people, especially when they're beginning out, they'll just like try to create the files themselves as opposed to using like the CLI to create the migration files. Which, like, if you do it with the wrong naming convention, can cause all sorts of weird issues. But it doesn't matter. Like the sqlx, like it's not like creating it through there is essential. It just makes sure that the naming convention is correct. As we can see from the extension, each migration is a simple SQL file. We don't write Rust code, just plain SQL. Notice that we don't have any files with down in the name, By default, when we add a new migration, sqlx will only create the up migration. We can manually add the down migration ourselves, or when adding the migration, we can pass in the -r option to have sqlx create the down file for us at the same time. Here's the code to create the games table in the create games migration. Okay, so there we go with that. We've run these, so these are fine. Oh, let's and here's the down equivalent in the here's the down equivalent for this migration. Now you're not here, are you? I'll need to come down to here. This is create games down, like that. Okay. Drop table if exists. Running migrations. We can run the migrations by running the command sqlx migrate run from the root of the project. Okay. sqlx migrate run, we applied that. And now when we inspect the database, we can see two tables. Okay, so I show the DT, we have our list of relations. Okay, and this shows up. And then we can also show up like what games looks like, and we see that. And then those indexes have been created. Reverting migrations. Sometimes we do want to undo our migrations. Generally, on reversion, we want to undo whatever was done so we can predict what is going to happen. In the migration we created, that means dropping the games table. Since we didn't use the -r option when creating the games, when creating the create games migration, we don't have a down file. We can create one though. We'll copy the name of the migration and add down to it. Oh, shoot. I already did this. Okay. Fine. Right, with the file name in here too. Okay, so that's fine. Now we can add the SQL that will do the opposite that the up migration did. In this case, that means dropping the table. So there's our drop table if it exists. Then we can run the revert command, which will run the down migration and drop the table. Creating our tables. Let's create migrations for the other tables. Here's what they all look like after writing them. Okay, so we have games, and there's our games migrations, platforms, and game platforms, or game platform. When we run all of the migrations together, the tables will be created at the same time. Okay, so that. Let's add in one thing. Note that when we're reverting migrations, they will revert in the groups that they were running. Since these migrations all ran together, if we ran revert once, all three would be reverted. Seeding. What is seeding? When we first spin up a database, we often want some data already in it, be it for testing purposes or having data for production. It's nice to put this data into code so that when we add new developers or spin up databases for testing, we have a consistent starting place. sqlx doesn't have separate seeding functionality from migrations, so we'll need to put our seeds somewhere else. I recommend that we create a separate program to seed our database so we can choose when to run the seeds, and they aren't tied to migrations. The plan. Let's say for our scenario that we want to add some games and platforms to the database that new developers will not have to manually add this data themselves. Okay, so we have games, platforms, and a game platform. Creating the seed program. This is going to be a very simple REST program that we will run after migrations in order to add data to the database. So we'll have the connection set up in the main.rs file and run the inserts in the lib.rs file. Let's begin by creating a new REST program and connecting to the database in the main.rs file. Okay, so we have main. That looks right. Next, let's create the seed files themselves. We'll need one file per insert command. We can create a seeds directory in the root of the project and create the seeds files that we'll be creating. Okay, so we're showing their seeds in the root with those. Based on the data that we want to insert, we can fill out the SQL files. So seed games, seed platforms, seed game platforms. This is seed game platform, I believe. The seed game platform file will be the most complicated since I don't know where I got since. During development, we may end up resetting the database several times and then rerunning the seeds. Since the idea is a sequential counter, we may not know exactly what each game or platform is. So we may not know what ID each game or platform has. For example, if we run the seeds and then deleted everything without dropping the database or resetting the counter, the games would get the IDs 4, 5, and 6 instead of 1, 2, and 3. To handle this, we can use a subquery to get the ID of the platform and game when inserting into the game platform join table. So subqueries are one of those things where if you've been doing SQL for any a decent amount of time, you probably run into them and you probably use them, and they're really helpful. They basically make things like, how do I do that? They usually make those things possible. But if you've never seen them before, or you're relatively new to SQL, this may be really scary. Also, this is one of the reasons why SQL injection attacks are possible, because you could just put a query inside of a query, which is, as you can imagine, dangerous, but powerful. Let's go back. Should be doing this down here. Let's go back to the REST code and create a lib.rs file where we'll run all the queries at the same time. We'll use a transaction to run them all, so that way, if there is a problem, we'll get a rollback for all of them instead of risking partially seeding the database. As we have SQL files, we can use the query file macro to run them. Okay, so there's that. We then run these. Don't forget to call the run function from the main.rs file. And then I'm not putting that code in there because I think that's super easy. By this time, you should be able to do that pretty easily. Conclusion. Unfortunately, because sqlx doesn't have a dedicated system for handling seeds, we have no choice but to put them in migrations or create our own program to handle them. My suggestion is to create your own system and maintain control over when seeds run, and be able to change them without having to make big changes to migrations, which is dangerous. All right. So this is all saved. I think this is good. I'm thinking of doing 2 videos for this one. We'll do one for the migrations and then one for the seeds, because they're kind of separate things, but also migrations and seeds also do go together. So part of me is wants to break this out into 2 lessons, and part of me is okay with it being 1. And I don't really know what the best is, so we're just gonna keep it the same, and then I'll just rely on feedback when we take the course. See how that goes. Okay, so recording time for the migrations themselves. Okay, so we'll just create them. So let's go and reset the database. We probably want to drop the tables. So we want to drop table game platform first. Um, I probably wanted to just, I probably could have just gotten away with rerunning, like reverting the all the migrations that we have. That would have been fine. Okay, let's do platforms, which means I also need to drop table that thing to make sure that that's all gone. So no relations anymore. We're good to go. Okay, so I can disconnect from the database. I don't have any applications running right now. So you can go off that way. I can create a new temp directory. Oh, I have that one. So I have this migrations here. I'm thinking let's create a new folder here. We take uh call it sqlx migrations. Here's an idea. Should I put the I could put the migrations and the seeds in like the same package? Ooh. So I actually think normally like so if we have like one if we're doing the like microservices style where we have like one database per project, then we want to start with a new thing. So I can do a cargo temp. We just start here. This doesn't have anything in there. We open up VS Code here. There's not really much to do here, but we'll create a migrations, and then later on I can create a seeds sort of sub project for this. Yeah, I think it's recording time. Um, I think so. So we're gonna do migrations first. I think I'm gonna do 2 videos. I think we're gonna break it up and do one video just for the migrations, and then another video for the seeds, and then sort of like put them both into the same file, and we'll go from there. All right, so we'll just say that we have a basic hello world, and we want to create migrations for this. Sure, why not? Do your thing. And then sqlx. Let's go grab sqlx. Oh, we probably want sqlx CLI, and then this has the documentation that we need because there's not really much documentation in the crate itself. Oh, is it that time again? Oh, I forgot. It's like at a accelerated pace because you're doing like smaller surgeries, right? Um, I'm sorry about that. Today's gonna suck. My surgery yesterday didn't go as planned, so today is nothing but calling doctors and listening to the standard hold music they all use. I I swear there's probably like a single service or like a single company that like just sells hold music. And I vaguely remember the history of hold music or like elevator music as I think that it's called. And it's like it's got a fascinating history. And that has no like that is no excuse for it to still be so terrible. All right. So here we go. We're gonna cargo install sqlx CLI because it has everything. And then from that, we're gonna create migrations. Oh, we have to create the .env file, and then we're good to go. And then I already have everything else. They called it like 7 p.m. Wednesday night and was like, "Hey, you want to go to surgery today? The doctor's schedule is empty and wants something." You gotta love. It's like, hey, so we're bored, but we have some knives. We'd love to cut you up. You want to come in? We can use anesthetic too if you want. Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best like feeling. All right, let me. We have half an hour. I can do at least one video for this. Um, do- timers. We'll enable that timer. You said no. The wife is like, why not do it? I mean, I always defer to the person who would be going under the surgery because like to me, the person having it done to probably want, probably just like, they have feelings. All right. So, I think we're good to go here. So we'll turn off Zilbicam, turn off alerts, audio there just in case. Okay, we're good to go. We have just this stuff. Let's let's jump into it. Okay, so objectives. Describe what a migration is. Install sqlx, create tables with migration, and then just run the migrations. And revert migrations. Well, I should add that into this one here too. So create tables with migration, revert, revert table, revert database changes using migrations. Okay. And I think we're about ready. Let's give this a shot. Here we go. Hello, in this lesson, we're going to be going over database migrations. Migrations are a way for us to control or basically set what the shape of the database looks like in code. That way, over time, as we're building our application up, if we need to add tables, if we need to change columns, or just do anything to the database, this remains in code. We can run that once for local development. All of our teammates can also run the exact same migrations, and then you're absolutely sure that you're going to get exactly the same migrations for for all team members. And then you can run the same ones on production too. So that way, it your production looks exactly the same as development. Let's jump into like what exactly that looks like. So here I have a very basic application sitting here. It's just a hello world, and we're not actually going to write anything. And here we're going to create a migrations folder to sort of sit next to our project. So this is more of like an example project of where our migrations might sit and live. Let's open up a terminal here. And we're going to run, well, first of all, let's make sure our database is running. So I have a Docker PS. Okay, so I have my Docker database up right now. And if I connect into it with the Docker exec, we have, I have no tables whatsoever. So it's a very basic, just ready to go plain database. To set ourselves up with migrations, we're going to need the sqlx CLI. We can get that from crates. There is a sqlx CLI application for us, and all we have to do is just the cargo install sqlx CLI. Let's go ahead and do that now. We can't do that from within Postgres. We disconnect from here, and now we can do that. All right, I had already installed this, but once we get this installed, now this specific command that we used will allow us to now connect to any type of database. So that would be Postgres, MySQL, or SQLite. There are commands to install sqlx just for the databases that you might run into, but if you can, it might be nice just to install this because it's globally, so that way you can just mix and match and start using any database you want and won't have to run into bugs later going like, why won't it work with my MySQL database? All right, once we have this installed, let's go ahead and create a migration. So we're going to do if we look at the documentation here, we can, it allows us to create databases. I already have a database, so I don't need to run that. Oh, we do need a .env file. So let's create that first. I'm going to touch a .env file, and we're going to put the connection info for our Postgres database here. So this is going to be, it has to be database URL. So that's going to be Postgres // username. So Postgres in this case. Keyboard cat at localhost. It's on port 5432, and then the database name is sqlx tutorial in this case. All right, so now sqlx will probably be able, it will be able to now connect to the database and then run the commands on my behalf. Continuing to look at our documentation here, to create the migrations, we can just do the sqlx migrate add and then a migration name. So let's run that. So I want to create three databases. We've been doing sort of like a games like storage where we have like games and platforms. Let's do the same thing, but make it a little bit more complicated. Let's do a 3-table system where we have games and then platforms as 2 different tables. And then we'll do another table for game platform to, a join table between them. I mean, some of us have like the same game owned across multiple platforms. This would allow us to track that. So let's go ahead and create a games table. So we're going to do, now the order of us running these commands is really important because it's going to run the migrations in the same order. And if we have like a relation, we can't have something that relies upon, for example, the games first. So we can't create the join table first. We have to create that last. So we're going to do a sqlx migrate add. I like to do create games to show that I'm creating this games table. Congratulations, we've created our first migration. What it's done is it's created this migrations folder over here. And inside of it, there's a file which has the lovely name of 20231006140731 creategames.sql. Now that long number is actually a date. So it's 2023, October 10th, and then there's time, sort of a little timestamp in there too. That's how it's going to know which order to run these in. It just runs them from top to bottom in the shell. All right, well, let's actually just create our games table here. It's just normal SQL at this point. So we're going to do insert. Insert. No, this is migrations. We're going to create a table. So we're going to create a table if not exists. This is somewhat optional. Basically, you want to make sure that, like, hey, the games table doesn't exist already whenever we're running this. I've left it off also. It's one of those things where it's like, you don't need it, but you kind of like, it might be nice to have an error there in the case that like you're trying to run a migration and the table already exists for you. Okay, and games. Now, we want a game ID. So let's do a game ID. Let's actually do this in multiple lines here. So we have a game ID. Its type, we want this to be a serial. I want this to be the primary key. That's going to make it not nullable. It's also going to make it unique. So that's pretty much all we need for this one. And then I want the name of the game. So we'll have name. This could be a varchar. 255. Let's make it so that we can't have like duplicates of the exact same name. So this has to be unique. This can't be nullable, so not null. And what other constraint do we want to put on? I don't know if there's any other constraints. I certainly don't want to try to make this like a primary key or anything else like that. I just want that to be a little bit of data. So this might be good enough. Let's come down here and we'll semicolon that. And that's the create games. That's all we need for a migration. Now we have those other tables. Let's go ahead and we'll hold off before I create those. Let's run this one first and like see it in action. So I can now do a sqlx. Now I'm running this from the root directory of the project. So migrations is a directory that we can see from here. So sqlx migrate run. Okay, so it applied migrate games. If there was a problem here, it would have exited out. It would have been a big error with lots of warnings and errors in here. So let's go ahead and connect into our database. So we're going to do a docker exec again. And if we take a look at our relations, we have two tables now. We have games, so it did create the games table. And if we inspect that, we can see, okay, we have game ID, we have name, they're the correct types, everything looks appropriate here. But we also have this sqlx migrations table for us. Let's go ahead and inspect that. This table stores information about the migrations themselves. Now, it doesn't store the migration like code for it, but it is storing that the migration has run. It's stored when it ran, and then it also has this version for it. So if you end up running like multiple migrations, like if we created all 3 migrations at the same exact time, ran them, did one command to run them, it would put them under the same version. Let's actually do that for this next migration. And actually, you know what? Let's before we do that, let's actually revert this because maybe I do want them to come all together. And reversion is actually a big part of migrations. So let's exit out of view. And well, I can't really do a down, can I? There is this idea of a revert in migration. So we can do, what is it? It is just revert. So migrate, revert. But there's no migrations available to revert. What it's trying to tell me is that we need to have a down migration for this. Now, I didn't actually create one automatically for us when we just do add. Although there is a way to do that, we'll do that for the next one. So let's manually create a down migration for ourselves right now. So I'm going to cd into migrations. We're going to, I could just copy, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to touch. I need this exact same file name. And then right before the .sql, we're going to put a dot down. So that way, the sqlx migrations know, okay, this is the down migration. We're going to run this on down. Now, we also have to open this up and actually run the code. Like what happens when we want it to go down? Well, we created a table when we went up, so we want to drop the table on going down. So we're going to do drop table if exists games. And that's it. A pretty simple migration there. Now I have to cd out of it to run the down migration because it looks for the migrations folder. So we can do sqlx migrate revert. And it reverted create games. Let me go ahead and create a new terminal window. And we'll do a docker exec to go in there. And I still have the sqlx migrations table in here, but that games table is gone. And so we're good to go. It reverted. We've undone our changes. Let's go ahead and create everything else. All right, back to this window. Now, if I want to create another migration and have it automatically generate a down file for me, so I don't have to manually create it, there is a way to do that. We can use, I believe, the -r option. So we can do a sqlx migrate add -r, and then, okay, so we have games. Let's add platforms. So platforms, we're going to want to create platforms. It created that. That did not go. Okay, so -r is apparently not the right command for this. What was that? sqlx migrate add -r and then the name. That should have done it, but apparently it didn't. So when things like that happen, we just have to manually now add them ourselves. So let's go ahead. We'll jump in here. So here's our create platforms. I will try it again for the next one and see if it works there. All right, create platforms, very similar to create games. We want to just create a new platforms table. So create table if not exists platforms. And then for that, we're going to have the platform ID. That is going to be a serial, and it's going to be a primary key. And then we're also going to have the name of the platform, and that's also going to be a varchar 255. Let's make that not nullable, and then also unique. And that's it for here too. And then if I wanted to create the down for this, let's go ahead and I'm just going to copy migrations. This is create platforms, and I want to copy it to migrations, create platforms dot down. And we can change this to just drop table if exists platforms, and then we don't need any of the how to create it data. Okay, we're good to go there. Final one, the join table. So this is gonna be platform game platform. Let's try the -r again, and let me just copy and paste it to make sure that I do this really correctly here. So we're gonna do sqlx migrate add -r, and this is gonna be create game platform. Again, it just did one of these. I did test this beforehand and it worked for me. So it's a little bit frustrating that it's not working right now. But sometimes these things happen, and as long as we know that we can just manually create it, we'll be fine. All right, so let's open up create game platform, and we're gonna create this. Okay, so create table if not exists. This is going to be a game platform. I'm a fan of basically having like the S added on to make it plural for like, you know, the individual things like games, platforms. But this one I like to be singular because it's like a combination. It's like a game platform. We want like one game per platform here. Okay, so create table if not exists game platform are types. So I don't actually feel that I need an ID for this. What I want to do is I want to say like, hey, I want as many like games in here because we might have purchased multiple games from multiple platforms, but I want one game per platform, which means I kind of want my primary key to be across both of them. Let's set that up. That's going to be game ID. That's going to be an int, and we need this to be, make this an int. This cannot be null. I don't want it to be a default or anything like that, so I just want int, not null. And then we're gonna have a platform ID. That's also gonna be an int and not null. Neither of them I want to be unique. And then we want a primary key. So primary key, and then I'm going to use the parentheses here to create a composite key. So this allows us to create a primary key across multiple tables, across multiple columns. So in that case, game ID and platform ID. And so this way, it automatically puts a unique across like two of them together. So that way, I can have as many of the same game IDs, I can have as many of the same platform IDs, but I can only have one combination of a game ID and platform ID at a time. All right, just a little bit of a SQL trick. Let's also create our down version of this. So we'll do the copy again. So copy migrations. This is the game platform, and I want to copy that to migrations, game platform, but with down on it. And for you, it's going to be the drop table if exists game platform. And I realized I forgot a semicolon here, which could cause problems. All right, I think we're good to go. Let's run our migrations and see if we wrote this all correctly. So we'll do a sqlx migrate run. It runs all three of them at the exact same time. If we come back to our database here, let's DT this, and we see, okay, we have games, we have platforms, and we have game platform. And if we inspect, take away the sides, so we have maximum amount of space here. If we inspect the sqlx migrations table, we'll see that it's a little bit hard to read because I've got it sort of zoomed in here. But this first number on the left that sort of like has the little space in, that's the version. And you notice that this, is it the same? It's not the same. There should be something in here that shows that it's all done at the same time, which might be the execution time. But yeah, I guess it is different here. Some different migration sort of like systems across different languages, they all have different ways of storing what the migrations are. It's fascinating to sort of look in here. And if there's any weird problems, sometimes you might have to manually update this yourself. For the most part, you won't ever need to touch this. And then we can take a look at the S for example, that game platform table, and we'll see, okay, we have a primary key across both game ID and platform ID. Perfect. And then, just because I want to show this off, let's do a revert on this. So revert. Oh, it does revert one at a time. In other systems that I'm very familiar with, they revert all together in like the group. So if you run them all together at the same time, they'll revert all together at the same time. But apparently with sqlx, that's not the case. So anyways, this is how we can create our tables in our databases in code. We can ensure that they're all going to be the same across developer systems, because now you can commit this into GitHub. You can share it with your teammates, and you can say, hey, you want your database? Just run this command. Just install sqlx CLI, run sqlx migrate run, and you're good to go. You've got everything going. And if you need to make any changes, I guess like one thing before we end, if you made a mistake, you want to change one of these migrations, be sure to revert first before you make a change to it. And then I have to stress this, if you have data already, like if you've deployed your app, you have production and you have data in production, do not revert unless you really, really, really want to, because remember, the revert will like drop things, and that can cause data loss. Like if it drops the table and you didn't want to drop the table, that's clearly going to be a problem. So generally speaking, add a new migration and then do an alter table to add like a column in, or change a type, or do something like that. And that's going to be a lot safer. And then essentially your migration becomes a history of how that database came to be, and how, like, what's caused it to happen. All right, that's all I've got for migrations. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye. Hello everybody. Sorry I couldn't say hi. But yeah, we got, I think, Togglebit rated like right after I started recording. So thank you, Togglebit. I know that Togglebit left right away. But hello, Danaka. Hello, Code Pill. And let's see. Hello, League of Lego Boy. How are you all doing today? And how was Togglebit stream? And like, what did he work on? Because I saw in Discord that he was doing character creation, of a sorts. That was curious, but I never am awake when he starts streaming, so I can never actually see that. Okay, I can remove the, nope, not that one. I can remove that timer. And we can get rid of this VS Code. We don't need you anymore. That being said, I do want to remove the to delete, because I want to show when I do the seeds lesson that the migration stuff is here. So we're going to remove that. So that way it's safe to close all this stuff. Also, I'm so confused. Why didn't the -r work? It worked for us in, oh, is it because it's like a VS Code terminal? Yeah, so weird. All right. Okay, so we've got you're happy, we can move. I kind of want to try that again. Um, okay, so it's in was it this one? Oh, it is this one. Okay, so if I do a sqlx migrate add, we'll just say like, I don't know, a dash r something. Yeah, it's so weird. Was there an update between? No, because it didn't actually add anything. When I did the sqlx install, sqlx CLI install, it didn't do anything. So, oh, did I forget the dash r in that one? I may have forgotten the dash r when I did that. No, I didn't. Ah, okay. I don't know. It's frustrating to me because like tools are supposed to do what they say they're gonna do, and then also they did it for us. Unless I'm insane and like somebody who watched yesterday when I was streaming and like we actually got the dash r to work. Uh, what did I do differently today? I don't think I did anything differently. It's frustrating when the tools don't work the way they're supposed to work. Okay, so we have you all set up. All right, next time because I'm out of time, so I can't do another recording today, or I can't do another recording this morning. But I'll be streaming this afternoon, so I'll be able to do a recording then. We'll be doing recording for seeding, which if you haven't seen sqlx, there is no seeding in sqlx. They don't have like an official seeding system, so we have to kind of create one ourselves, which kind of sucks. So that's a that's a thing. I'll probably um I'll create the seeds next to it though as like a separate sort of like sub module library, and then you can run that separately. I'll need to remember how to run a specific program on its own, but I don't think it's that hard. I think it's like something like cargo run, and then like dash dash target, and then the name of the module or the crate. I think it's something like that. We'll figure it out. Anyways, that being said, let me see. Do oh, I don't have another Twitch up. Go to Twitch and see what's see who's streaming. Okay, so Sherry makes art is building a custom Twitch chatbot with Java. But nobody. Oh, Raimu's streaming. Oh, Raimu's streaming also. So Raimu's doing is continuing to parse GIF blocks with Rust. So right, that's been with Rust. Oh no, it's not with Rust. It's his own thing. Usually Raimu uses a lot of Rust. And then looks like it's C++ right now. So any choices? Get Twitch chatbot. Ninjatron with a raid. Welcome, 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 Ninjatron. How are you doing today? How's your stream? We're about to end, so we're figuring out who to raid. I'm thinking She Makes Art has the lead has 63 viewers. Um, so let's go ahead and raid Sherry, and set that up. June Rally, keep raiding. When am I about to end? Well, yeah, it's because I have this like day job I have to go to, and stand up is going to be coming up pretty soon, so it's that entire thing. So you know how it goes. That being said, if we switch over to my ending screen, we'll see here. I have the schedule is that I'll be back at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time today. So right now it is 8:30 a.m. for me. So what is that? That's like 6 or so hours from now, and I'll be back online, and we'll be doing the recording for Seeds, and we'll be figuring on something else. So also, if you follow and you're elsewhere in the world, and that's going to be like in the middle of the night for you, I probably would recommend turning off the alerts, or like hiding your phone or something, so I don't wake you up. So sorry early if that happens. Anyways, that's gonna be the plan later today. I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all either later this afternoon or next week sometime. Have a good one, and see you then. Bye.